Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al, week 14, and I've got a cage match for you this week with Dave Loughran from Stochastic Fantasy. If you guys have checked out their channel on YouTube, if you haven't, definitely go check it out. If you're coming over from there and you're new here, thank you for being here. We do this every single week. We draft kind of a head-to-head match against each other for charity. We're playing for $100. I'll talk to you about the charities that we're playing for right after the bump, but it's different than a normal head-to-head game that you're going to play on Draftkings, where you're going to have a lot of overlap against everybody else, right? You play a head-to-head, it's usually like a 2v2 or a 3v3. We're going to draft these using the salaries on Draftkings, and if I pick somebody, Dave can't have them. If Dave picks somebody, I can't have them. So we get two totally unique lineups built, trying to build them through kind of a cash game lens, but it's a shorter slate, only 10 games on this slate, so it could get tough somewhere around the middle of this draft. So sometimes it's not about picking the most optimal lineup, it's about inflicting as much pain as you possibly can on your opponent in the cage. So drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and let's go.
He's a legend.
Hey Dave, how's it going, man?
What's up, man? It's been a while. Have you ever
time.
thought about how automatic your intro to these videos has become over the years?
So
It just happens, right?
It does, because you do it so many times. Like my kids' friends in like their baseball league, they now watch my shows on YouTube for fantasy stuff. They're like, I watched your dad's video. He had some good advice. I was like, all right, that's kind of cool. They're like, can you do the thing? So I kind of do it at like the baseball practices and stuff. They're like, oh, there it is. I've heard that before.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's automatic. I know too. You get used to it. But hey, I'm happy to be with you, man. Finally made it on the cage match.
There we go. I try to get as many different guests and friends of mine in the industry as I possibly can. To raise awareness for different charities, as well as, you know, I like to collaborate. I like to commingle audiences. So like some of your viewers are watching this and some of my viewers who have never seen you before, why don't you introduce yourself to them and let them know where they can find your content on social media and here on YouTube.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Over at stochastic.com, let me spell that for you. You thought awesome was tough to spell. Now I got to do it all over again. STOKASTIC, everything DFS, and then our Odd Shopper channel. Over at Odd Shopper, we're doing sports betting now. Al, it's getting big, you know that.
It's a big thing.
Branching off in the sports betting. Check it out, Odd Shopper and Stochastic, and of course stochastic.com.
Fantastic. We're playing for $100 today, and Dave, you are playing for Toys for Tots.
Christmas, you know,
Christmas time. It's that time of year. Let's get some Christmas spirit, some holiday spirit to kids that may not have their families are struggling and, you know, don't have the ability. If you wanted to donate to Toys for Tots, there's a link down below. Just click show more in the description. I, as always, am playing for No Kid Hungry. If I win, Dave will donate $100 to our fundraiser here. If you wanted to take part, go to smizzle.tv/charity. We're over $45,000 raised on the season so far. When we hit $50,000, that will trigger the next $10,000 match from me, which will push us to 60. We have a little bit less than a month to go to try and reach our goal of 50,000 from the community and 50,000 in matches from me. So smizzle.tv/charity will take you there. Dave, you've chosen to go second, which means that I'm going to pick first. And
there's only 2 picks, right?
I mean, it's such a small slate. Like, there's 72 teams on bye week this week, making it a 10-game slate, which is not a whole lot to choose from.
On week 14, too.
Yeah, like, could you have, like, come on, NFL. You know, you had a week 2 weeks ago with like 2 bye weeks.
I know.
Right? 2 teams were on bye. You know what? Let's just throw 72 teams on bye this week and try and figure it out. Let's make them work for it. I'm going to do something. I think that there's enough value at this other spot to make this worthwhile. But I'm not sure. Oh, God, there's 2 guys. Like, I was hoping to get second and 2 in this one, but I got the first pick. I think there's one guy here at wide receiver that's kind of a standout, and it's Garrett Wilson going up against Buffalo. Okay. 15 targets last week, 8 targets the week before. The pivot to at quarterback has really opened things up, as Mike White has thrown so many more balls on target than was Zach Wilson. He was terrible. So Garrett Wilson and his talent really being opened up with 2 games of like 25 points at quarterback. And we know that it's efficiency, not volume. And if you're going to throw the ball on target, especially to a guy like Garrett Wilson, who is a tremendous talent, 5,900 still not enough. I think that he's still a bargain by like 10% underpriced. I think he's about a $6,500 player on DraftKings. So I'm going to take the bargain and the value at wide receiver here and kick it back to you for your 2 picks.
All right. So I'm a little surprised here. Now, Granted, I think you have a distinct advantage in this format. It's a little bit different.
I have more experience in the cage than most.
It is an interest. I love the concept though. It's a great format, but it's different.
It is different.
Because we're essentially building cash game lineups, and we're not all going to have the pieces that you'd normally put into a cash game lineup.
Yeah. So like some people build, it ends up looking like a tournament lineup. Sometimes you end up with more correlation than you would want to have. Sometimes you have to take a chance on some guys that may or may not be very good. You know, at least not optimal cash game plays, but it leads to a fun contest every single weekend, something for us to sweat.
I had something in mind.
Mm-hmm.
I thought for certain that you'd be going with one of the top receivers in the 53 total game.
Yeah.
For this week.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to tell you this, I'm going to bang out 2 picks early. I'm going to waste no time.
Mm-hmm.
It is very doable this week to take Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
You're going to take both?
And still make a quality lineup that is suited to some extent for cash, or let's say a cage match. Yeah, I'm going hard on this one. We're going Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 1 and 2, or 2 and 3.
I mean, look, they're super solid plays. I was not planning that you were going to take both of them. I thought that I would get one of them back at the next pick because I think that in order to fit both of them, you have to kind of take 1 or 2 of these other guys. And now I don't know that you can get 2 of them. So it bounces back to me. Big reminder here, though, if you are not already in it, go to smizzle.tv/links, enter the Smizz Gang Listener League for week 14. It's $10 to enter, 3 max, 0 rake, the best tournament that exists on Draftkings.com, and you cannot find it in the lobby, so go to smizzle.tv/links if you want to get there. Solid first 2 picks, puts a lot of pressure on me here. So now I got to take one of these running backs from you.
You do. Hey, you said inflict as much pain as possible, right? Yeah. Straight out of the gate.
So like I think that one is a bigger name than the other, but is a bigger risk. And one, I already have some. So like, there's 2 guys. I'm going to figure them out. Right now, DeAndre Swift is going to be my pick at 5,800. It looks like they finally unleashed him last week against Jacksonville in a game that they won by a lot. Now, they had been nursing this ankle injury for like 5 weeks since he came back, and I had been hemming and hawing. Like, if he's not ready, just don't play him. Somebody in chat yesterday said that he played DeAndre Swift in week 13 because he had read that they finally took the jersey off of him at practice, meaning that he was a full go at practice, could be hit, full contact, everything else. And then that led to a 20 opportunity day. And they cut down Jamal Williams' work. Now, if this is going to maintain going forward, even if he cuts down to like 15 opportunities here with half of those coming in the passing game, maybe 9 carries, 6 targets. As you said, by far the highest totaled game on the slate. So this is kind of a challenge pick against your Amon-Ra St. Brown, who I love, by the way, and I still think is a massive value. Very underpriced. Anywhere under 8,400, he's still going to be a value. DeAndre Swift with 20 opportunities, 5,800, not anywhere near enough with all the big playability that he has, both in the passing game and on the ground. I'll take DeAndre Swift at 5,800.
I love it. And I mean, yeah, with St. Brown, the guy's caught 91% of passes over the last 4 weeks. In full PPR, you're talking, and yeah, just insane volume, and he's catching everything that comes his way. But with Swift, I'll tell you what, Al, the one thing I love about Swift this week, first, obviously you talked about the elevated usage last week and the higher snap count, but what about the fact that they routed Jacksonville in a game where that you would think would lean more towards Jamal Williams, and DeAndre Swift in a, 40-16 game?
Yeah, 40-14, whatever it was.
Yeah, 40-14. Al touched them on the ground 14-11, and then Al targeted him 6-0. So, at 5,600 Swift, or 5,800, I think one of the strongest plays on this slate.
Yeah, he's a monster if he's going to get 15 to 20 opportunities. So like there is a bit of a gamble here from me, right? That they are going to keep him at those levels in terms of his usage moving forward. But like I said, I had to kind of block you a little bit in terms of the value running back because I know that you need to go get that now.
I don't. So here's
why.
Don't
need a value running back. All right, go for it.
I'll tell you my plan out front. I'm going to live in the mid-range at running back. Okay. I have no problem telling you. I think the mid-range is loaded.
Yeah, it is.
It's tough because I'm so used to being like, these are the guys I like. Like I'm doing a piece of content, but I can't do that. So I'm going to go Ezekiel Elliott. And I know everybody is like, oh, Tony Pollard's better.
He is better.
Of course he's better. Of course, right. Exactly. Of course he's better. But in a game that they won 54-19, that was a weird game. It was. Like but still, they're 16 and a half, 17-point favorites, massive implied total. Tony Pollard, a lot of value comes from the passing game as well. These guys have been clearly splitting work on the ground. Both of them are getting goal line opportunities. I don't mind. Like, I would normally go to Pollard here, but because I have Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown, I don't think Zeke at 6,100 is a bad consolation prize as a 2.5 touchdown favorite at home.
And so Zeke didn't play the first quarter for disciplinary reasons. Played like 54% of the snaps and handled somewhere near that in terms of running back touches. And Pollard played like 43% and had 39% of the running back touches. So like, we know Pollard's better. He's better in absolutely every metric. And the argument has been, well, Ezekiel Elliott's better at pass blocking. Not according to PFF pass blocking grade this year. Pollard's like one of the top 6 pass blocking running backs in the league, and Ezekiel Elliott's like number 20. So like, even that argument falls apart. But none of that matters. All that we care about in fantasy, specifically daily fantasy, is volume. Ezekiel Elliott, twice as many inside the 5 carries. He's the one that's getting the lion's shares of the snaps and running back touches for the Cowboys. And as long as Jerry decrees that he has to be the lead guy, the coach's hands are tied, and they got to play the guy who is slightly a worse running back. So, but he's cheaper. He's 600 cheaper for the lead back on Dallas against the biggest target, Houston, for us.
The only thing Tony's not better at is saving Jerry Jones' pride at this point. And you pointed that out. It's true. If it's anybody else,
it has to be ego. It's the only reason that they're still playing him over Pollard.
Of course. It's ego. Jerry would have played Zeke. Jerry would have played Zeke if he had trench foot. Like, as long as he can get him out there, he would play the guy. We've seen it.
Are you saying he'd play him if he had the gout?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, gout foot. If he was like David Wells, ate like pound cake with like some raw chicken on the inside of it and got some gout, he'd still play Ezekiel Elliott with the gout.
100%. And he'd give him 20 touches for sure.
All right.
But I like him this week. There's clear 2 touchdown upside in this spot.
He's really good, right? Like, he's a good play. The question is, here's a side question for you that has nothing to do with anything. Would you play Ezekiel Elliott and Pollard in the same GPP lineup?
I've been thinking about this. The only reason I want to say no is because just from an opportunity cost standpoint, look how many great 6K and 5K running backs there are this week. Like, if they get there, it's very likely that they have to both get there in 3 quarters.
So they both have to get there. And like you said, all the other running backs in that price range have to fail. Like 7 other running backs have to fail. And
many of them in good matchups too. Would you do it? Are you doing it?
I think that if you have them in season long, you can play both of them. I think that if you're playing in daily fantasy tournament, the opportunities for both of them to get you over 25 to 30 plus fantasy points is so very, very minimal. We've seen it work before with Chubb and Hunt, where they've been on a millionaire maker winning team together. But like, it's probabilistically, it's so much less likely of happening than the percent of people who are going to go that route.
Agreed.
So to me, it's a mistake. I don't like that.
Where are you going?
I'm going to go, God, I can go a couple of ways. I'm going to take Dalvin Cook here. 7,300. You mentioned there's a lot in the mid-range. There is 20 to 25 opportunities expected and incoming at the Coors Field of football, Ford Field. So again, I want exposure to this game. I really don't mind having both running backs in a format like this. Now, if this was a normal cash game, I would not probably go this route because I wouldn't be forced to go this route. But I'd probably have at least one. Amon-Ra St. Brown is an absolute lock for cash games. You have to have him this week. Justin Jefferson, you can get to. But like, Dalvin Cook's getting 25 opportunities against the Detroit Lions. So like, I'm going to take that and hope that I get like, if I get 40 opportunities combined or 50 opportunities combined out of Swift to Cook, anywhere in that range, with the amount of scoring that is projected for this game, and there's no other game on the main slate. Like, we got Chargers Dolphins at 52 on Sunday night, but on the main slate, the next highest total is like 47. It's a big difference. 6 points is a big difference in expected total and implied touchdowns on the weekend. So I want as much action as I can get in that game. So I'm going to go with both running backs since you took both wide receivers.
I was going to say, I like what you're doing. If you're getting exposure to the 2 top backs in the same game, if they happen to have big days, it's likely that Jefferson and Brown don't get there, or St. Brown don't get there.
And typically you don't want to do that because running back does not correlate with you running back on the opposing team. However, if 55 to 65 real life points fall out of a game, the running backs are going to score.
Sure. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I like it. And listen, Dalvin Cook might not see the same pass.
No, he won't. He's been getting like 4 to 6 targets a game, which is fine, but like he's never going to get like 8, 9, 10 targets.
No, as long, I mean, you're just hoping he's up in that, 20 to low 20 opportunity range. And if he is, I think you should be fine.
I should get a touchdown out of him if he gets 23 touches.
Yeah. And Madison's a non-factor at this point. So
like he's scoring. He did a cool touchdown dance from TikTok, but like that's not really,
No.
No. I enjoy the TikTok touchdown dances. I'm like Leo DiCaprio. Like I get that. I see that.
I mean, he scored, sure, but at the same time, his workload has been pretty
nowhere near what people thought. It's not a 60-40 split. It's like 80 to 20.
Exactly. So you're just hoping he doesn't vulture you. Mm-hmm. All right. Like I said, we're good here. I wouldn't have been able to get to Cook anyway. Mm-hmm. I could have gotten to Swift. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I probably would have been fine with St. Brown and Swift in the same lineup, even though this isn't a tournament.
There's enough volume to go around in that game and enough scoring.
I think so. Yeah. And as you pointed out, like 6 points higher than the next closest game is significant for a 10-game slate. I'm going to go back to the running back position. Tempted to take Miles Sanders against New York. Eagles are a pick your poison offense, and if they have a good matchup on the ground, they will bludgeon you.
And full disclosure, you live where?
Look at my background
and
now.
You root for whom?
Yo, I've been a Miles Sanders truther from day one, and for years I'd have to tuck tail and walk away, being like, nah, he's not very good. He's like 5th in the league in rushing yards this year. He's playing all right.
He's very good. He's frustrating because of the 2 other running backs and Jalen Hurts with touchdowns, but like he's got 9 touchdowns this year. It's not like he's not scoring.
No, his touchdown prop on the season dropped to 5.5 before the season started. And he's cleared that easily. So last year was a complete anomaly to not find the end zone once.
On that many carries and touches on an offense that scored that many points.
All right, so I'm actually going to go down a little bit further here.
Okay.
Probably wouldn't expect this one, but I actually like D'Onta Foreman this week. I think he's a good price on a team that very simply wants to run the football a lot. And if you look at this total or the spread in this game, you might expect Seattle to be laying more than 4 points. Yeah. They're only 4-point favorites. Mm-hmm. Carolina's defense has been decent. D'Onta Foreman is just basically a poor man's Derrick Henry at this point. Mm-hmm. Look at his carries. 24, 31, 26. That's 3 of his last 5. Even with Chuba Hubbard getting 17 last game against that putrid Denver offense that keeps their defense on the field. I don't mind Foreman at 5,400. I'm pretty enamored by the volume here.
He's getting a lot of it. What you need is for them to stay in neutral game script situations as long as humanly possible, right?
Yep.
To stay away from the outcomes in Cincinnati and Baltimore. If Seattle runs out to a 14-point lead, that kind of eats up D'Onta Foreman. He's a good play. He's very cheap. He's going to get a lot of volume just based on everything that they've shown us very recently. Now, there's another way that I can go here. Like I'm not painted into a corner. I also don't think you're going to take that other certain guy. So like, I'm going to go a different route here. I want to have a little bit. Yeah, I can do this. I want to have a big play wide receiver too, Dave.
Okay. Let's get it.
I really like Jamar Chase.
Yeah, it's a great spot.
He's super good. And like caught 7 of 8 balls in his return from that hip injury for 97 yards. And it's very possible that his best catch of the day was the one that was out of bounds. That was his only target that didn't turn into a catch, where he was jumping backwards out of bounds, reached up and made a one-handed like
he's amazing.
He's a monster. And Cleveland is not a monster defensively. And yes, I know that Cleveland is very susceptible on the ground. Right now, we don't know which running back's going to play. Is Joe Mixon going to clear protocol? If he's not, we have another Samaje Perine week, but we're drafting this on Wednesday, so we don't have all of that information. What I do know is that Jamar Chase is inevitable, and I'm going to keep playing Jamar Chase as much as I can. I can afford it. He's 7,900. I think that he is probably a better tournament play than cash play this week because of the 2 main wide receivers that are a secondary stack that you're using on your team, but I think that he's borderline cash game viable. He's just not going to get played because of guys like Wilson and Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
You can't go wrong with a guy like Jamar Chase. I wouldn't say he's unstoppable because
he's
it's
close.
football, but he's as close as it gets. Yeah. I mean, he's as close as it gets when he's healthy. it's so funny too, because, Joe Burrow has kind of been the kryptonite for Patrick Mahomes. And of course that narrative can change at any moment. Burrow's never beat the Cleveland Browns. They got smoked by him last time this season. Every time he's faced them as a starter in the NFL, they've gotten knocked around. But again, that has no real merit on anything we're talking about today. This is still not a Cleveland defense under Joe Woods that has proven they are. Like, sure, okay, you came out and you beat up on the Houston Texans with your basically
sort
the
of.
Texans.
That was the most defensive or the most disappointing offensive game of the season from any given team.
It was the guy that came in second in the SPY, the 400K SPY, had Mike White with, I think it was 4 Jets, but then he had the Cleveland defense that had 30
something points. Like, defense and tight end are the two separator positions. They always have been and they always will be, because very few tight ends have a 25 plus point ceiling available to them. And if a defense scores 25 plus, most other defenses are going to score 8 to 11. And you've got a 20-point lead at one position and a 20-point lead at the other. If you hit on the tight end and defense, you're going to win.
Yeah, absolutely. You remember the year with the Patriots, right? If you weren't captaining the Patriots in showdown every week, you lost by the first quarter.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it happened, but you're right.
And they just randomly kept scoring touchdowns.
What's that?
The defense, that was the year that their defense just kept randomly scoring touchdowns, and like
3 touchdowns
are not predictable.
I actually went back and looked at this. I think that season was the most fantasy points ever scored by a defense. I think that New England team is like 3 times in the top 10 from one year. So, something really stupid.
They're absolutely absurd.
All right. So you went Jamar Chase. I got Elliott, Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Foreman. I still got plenty of room to work with here.
4,300 per position, and you have a defense that's going to up that a little bit. 21-7 in total.
Yeah, I don't think you're taking this defense that I'm going with.
All right.
You might take the tight end. I don't think so. Maybe. How much average player salary do you got left?
A little more than you. 4,600, 23,000 total.
Okay. All right. So you're a little up against it.
Yeah, we both are. You took Jefferson. I took Chase and Cook.
Yeah. Okay. I think it only makes sense that I go Jared Goff here.
Okay.
Obviously, cash game form. I'm not too worried about stacking, but I still think it's a perfectly reasonable spot to do so. And that offense is getting even healthier. So let me go Jared Goff, 56, alleviate a little bit of that salary.
And Jared Goff at home, for those of you guys who like the home road narratives and home road splits, 22.3 points at home, 9.9 when playing on the road. He is at home for this game. Cash game you don't normally stack. But if both players, if the quarterback and the wide receiver both project as very good values per salary, then you don't need to avoid stacking in cash games. You want to play the best plays and play the best values. And Jared Goff kind of fits into that spot. He also has seen like 30 points more than a couple of times this year, right? Like twice? No, one time, but over 25 points, 2-3. So like big high ceiling. We know the floor, but that floor has only come basically on the road games. I think that he is one of the 2 cheaper options at cash this week at quarterback. So I don't need to take a quarterback now, which is really, really nice. So I appreciate you taking quarterback off the table so that I don't really have to worry about it. Now I can kind of run a calc here with the quarterback that I want, but don't have to pick until my last spot, which leaves me into a nice little position that I can get into. And it's at tight end. Now, Travis Kelce's really good, but he's 7,600. Mark Andrews, look, the change to Snoop might have put him into spot where like now he can Mark Andrews in games where Snoop was the quarterback averages like 5 more fantasy points per game in the last 2 years that he's played with Lamar Jackson. So like Snoop just plays where's Mark and just throws him the ball constantly. But I want a little bit more exposure to this Minnesota Vikings Detroit Lions game. And at 5,100, I got like 6 to 10 targets staring me in the face at tight end. We already spoke about how the tight end position is one where if you can get 20 plus points out of your tight end, it's a separator. And since he got traded to this team, 9, 10, 9, 6, 6 have been the targets that he's gotten. And now we get a revenge game. So I'm going to take a nice little stroll down Narrative Street. Since we just had Narrative Street victory parade last week with AJ Brown not only having a monster game against his former team, but literally getting a GM fired the next day. I'm going to take TJ Hawkinson in this spot. 5,100 feels like it's just too cheap. Gives me more exposure to touchdowns in the highest totaled game of the day at a separator position.
Let's be honest, though, and it's a great pick. But, I mean, how much revenge is in mind when someone trades you out of Detroit? I mean, you should be sending flowers in a gift basket.
Okay, well, then it's a thank you game.
Okay.
However we want to phrase it. You know? I honestly think that Detroit's in a great spot moving forward, but that's for some off-season shows where we can talk about how good I think this Detroit program has handled all of their assets and everything else.
I just meant he didn't have to live there. But,
no, I don't want to live there. Look, I live in sunny Southern California. I'm fine where I'm at. I don't want to live in Detroit. No offense
I'm with
to
you on
anybody living in Detroit.
Loving Detroit. Yeah, I'm loving Detroit right now.
Yeah.
I love what they're doing. They're favored by 2.5. They're taking
How is that possible?
They're taking it. Well, because I don't know. Look, I'm sure there's a lot of Minnesota Vikings fans out there. Maybe this will come back to bite me.
Mm-hmm.
But you're looking at a Vikings team that's just constantly winning one possession games.
Mm-hmm.
And how long does that last? The Vikings are good.
They're a good team.
They're a good team. But are they that much? This is going to sound crazy. Are they that much better than the Lions right now? I don't think the Lions are playing fantastic. They almost knocked off the Bills on Thanksgiving. That's the only game in 5 games that they haven't won.
Coach Campbell has them playing hard. And but when I fill out my sheet every single week, right? I've got like my little book where I've got all the spreads and I take notes on it throughout the week with things that I need to know for shows or for lineup building or whatever. And when I filled it out, I wrote down the spread and the odds and the team totals and everything else. And I looked at it like it was that meme from Hamilton where like somebody's holding a phone up to the screen and he's looking down at it. Like I was like, really? The Lions are favored against a team that's number 2 in the NFC right now in the playoff hunt, and the Lions are not in the playoffs, but they're favored. Very interesting.
Niners, by the way, and yeah, this opened at 2.5. So it's not just that they opened there. They were 2.5 point dogs when this opened.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're 2.5. The Lions can make the playoffs out, and that's the craziest part about all of this. They have a legit. Yeah, if you look at their schedule, I'm not saying they can run the table, but
I want them to.
They could.
I want the Lions in the playoffs, and I want the Rams to lose out because I want the Rams to give the Lions the number 2 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
So they can get one of Young and Stroud, or Stroud, and their fan base gets the benefit of going to the playoffs and still getting a franchise quarterback in April.
If they get a good quarterback, this team could be really good.
Very, very good.
Wow. Times are changing.
Mm-hmm. Fast.
All right. So you went Hawkinson. I like Hawkinson there for sure. I don't think I'm not sure I would have been able to make that work. But now you have 2 Minnesota players.
Mm-hmm.
You got the Minnesota running back. You got the tight end. You got Detroit running back. All right. Mm-hmm. So we're just loading up on this game.
It's what people should be doing this week, is loading up on that game.
I know. I'm tempted to take DJ Shark here and just full out.
He's looking pretty good right now, to be honest with you.
I'm legitimately just considering.
Just for the memes?
I mean, look, it's a charity. It's a charity. if I lose, I win. If I win, I win. Right?
He's 4,300.
4,300. And the thing is, like, yes, I'm stacking, but Goff is 56. Shark is 43. So I'm going with a stack where I don't need. This isn't like Burrow, Higgins, Chase, where I need all of them to go. And then all of my other players are value options. 2/3 of this stack is my value.
Yes.
So I think I'll go a DJ Chark here. I think it actually makes sense with this build, with this game.
And the chat is now singing the DJ Chark song. So congrats for that. Hopefully that's stuck in all of the viewers' heads for the rest of the days, because that's going to be a thing that happens, because you're going to be singing DJ Chark do for the rest of your day. 4,300 is a solid value. 98 receiving yards last week, 2 straight weeks where he has outperformed his projection. You have 11,000. You can't really see it on the screen. There we go. 11,800 remaining, 3,900 per player, but one of them's a defense. So like that's a little bit higher. Coming back to me here, I have a quarterback in mind. I am not going to choose them right now. Looks like I'm going to need a value-ish play. I think I can make something happen. I'm trying to figure this out. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, take your time.
I can get a mid-range running back in this spot. The problem, honestly, is that I don't feel like I can take Joe Mixon not knowing if he's going to be available.
Well, I saw your show.
Yeah, go ahead.
I saw your show with JJ a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
And he had asked the question, can I swap?
You can if somebody's out.
Yeah, P. Ryan's not a bad contingency plan at, what is he, 6,300 if Mixon's out.
No, like I could take Mixon, and if Mixon plays, I'm happy. And if Mixon doesn't play, I just swap to P. Ryan. Same thing goes for Ken Walker III, who I think is in another great spot again this week, but he has a jammed ankle. So I kind of want to go a little bit more value in this spot. And the question is, do I want to go with 2 Jets, or do I want to get a Buffalo player? Because that's where the 2 values at running back are, in my opinion. And one of them, I believe, I know that the public's probably not on board with this yet. One of them, I think, is projecting volume. And that would be James Cook at 4,600, hoping that he maintains the amount of volume that he got last week when he had some really good volume. His biggest game in terms of snaps and touches throughout the year, 20 opportunities in that game. Has he taken over this job from Singletary, or is that just a 1 week one-off against New England, who's like the toughest defense in the league against opposing running backs? Or the other spot, which is 500 more, and I'm going to go with this, is Bam Knight. Last week I said I don't see any path to less than 15 opportunities for Bam Knight. They showed us their cards 2 weeks ago, did the Jets, with who they want to play. Also, he's looking actually good. Now it's like, you can't make the argument, well, it's a 1 week sample size, we don't really know. No, they played this kid over James Robinson and scratched James Robinson when he was healthy, right? And then they brought James Robinson back and like, well, you know, Robinson's going to be there this week. Is he going to take carries? No, they showed you their hand the week before that they value Bam Knight over James Robinson, and he's going to get the lion's share of the snaps and touches. They project to play from behind this one as 9-point underdogs. He has shown solid work in the pass game, 8 targets over the last 2 weeks, catching everyone that has been thrown his way, from check down Charlie at quarterback, and 15 and 14 opportunities on the ground. He looks actually good, and based on volume is way better than the $5,100 salary. So I'm going to fill up my flex here, leaving me with 4,300. I know which quarterback I want. I have 12.9 remaining, as now you can see there on the board, which allows me to get to who I want at the rest of these 3 spots. So I'm feeling pretty all right about where I'm at right now.
My only pushback there is, because you're right, Mike White loves to throw to his running backs. We saw it last year too. Now that Michael Carter's healthy, you don't think Michael Carter eats up most of that passing down work?
I think he's going to eat up the passing down work that Ty Johnson got. I think Ty Johnson was in that role last week, and I think that Ty Johnson now moves back into a role behind Michael Carter. I don't think that Carter is going to get the number 1 work with that.
So this is interesting. You're going Knight with the assumption, right, that he is, even with Carter back, that he is the lead back, right?
So they showed us our hand a couple of weeks ago when both were healthy. Knight was playing ahead of Carter when Carter was healthy in that game before he left the game. Then the same thing happened last week when Carter was out and James Robinson was back. They prefer Knight here, and they played Buffalo very tough the last time they played. So as long as this game stays with neutral game script and Buffalo doesn't get up like 17 points. If they do, and it's all Ty Johnson and Michael Carter in the pass game and Knight is not out there, then I guess F me. But like at 5,100, the volume seems secure. 15 plus opportunities with inclusion in the pass game for Knight seems too good to pass up, even as a road underdog in this spot.
All right. I get it. Yeah. At that point, you're basically looking at him or James Cook, who you're also speculating on. You have to speculate. Or, I mean, assuming Ken Walker's out, and I don't know if DJ Dallas plays, then you're looking at like a Troy or Tony Jones, or if they bring Wayne Gallman up from the practice squad. So it gets ugly quick. I get it.
All of those are other question marks, where Knight, I think, is a 15 plus opportunity guy this week.
No matter what.
No matter what, he's going to get his 15 plus. Unless, like I said, unless Buffalo scores 17 points and it's 17-0 in the first quarter, and then Knight seeds all of the pass game usage and he gets like 8 points for me. But like 8 points on a 5.1 salary is not as big of a miss. But there's more upside here. I think that there's 20-point upside from a 5.1K play.
Okay. So I've decided at this point to stray from the course and just go full out tournament. You get sucked in. And at this point, I'm looking at it as like, I got a full Detroit, Minnesota game stack. I'll go defense here.
Okay.
And I'm going $2,200 Carolina defense. And here's why. Well, first of all, because I've already committed to the tournament lineup. But second of all, I think this is going to be a very tight game. If Ken Walker's out, they're going to be banged up in the backfield. I think he will be. Brian Burns on that D line, JC Horn, like this is not that bad of a defense. And I think you can cause some trouble for Geno Smith and company here. They've shown some chinks in the armor over the last couple of weeks. Just give me the bottom of the barrel defense and, give me 8. Give me 8 out of them and I'm happy.
Okay. I mean, look, they've played Denver, Baltimore, and Atlanta, one superstar quarterback. They've had 11 sacks the last 3 games at 2,200, and it's quarterback pressure and sacks that you're looking for to try and complete any sort of scoring defensively. Coming back to me, you have a tight end and a flex to go. You have an average remaining salary of 4,800. I have an average remaining salary of 4,300, and I need to pick a wide receiver. So looking at what I have left, I believe that I need a wide receiver in this range right here. You took DJ Chark from me, and I hate you so very much for doing that because he was who I wanted to take in that range, and now I can't. Who I am going to take, however, is Nico Collins. He has had tremendous route participation and tremendous targets the last few games. Now, they've come with Kyle Allen at quarterback. Now Davis Mills is back. Davis Mills is a better quarterback than Kyle Allen, and I know that that's cutting it pretty thin because they both kind of suck, but like, if I'm going to get a guy who got 10 targets last week, but they were more prayer yards than air yards, getting only 3 catches on 10 targets because nothing was really near him, if he's going to maintain 10, 9, 7, and 10 targets in terms of the usage he's getting, in terms of DraftKings scoring 4,400 is nowhere near enough for a guy who projects to have 7+ targets every single week. Even if it's against a tough defense, he can eat enough at 4,400 to get me a 14-point game here and pay off his salary.
Would you rather have Davis Mills throwing the football to Nico Collins or Russell Wilson?
I think it's
Mills at this point. I think it's Mills.
I mean, it's not good either way, right? Would you rather die to a gunshot wound or a stab wound?
Where do I get shot or stabbed?
Like either way, you're gonna die.
It's not. Yeah,
I get either way.
Yeah, you're dead. Yeah, how long does it take?
Yeah,
that's I feel like I'm dying every time I watch a Broncos game.
I just don't watch them anymore.
You can't. Well, I was betting the Broncos under this year has just been straight
every
gold.
week. Wasn't it like 8-1 or 10-1? Like something ridiculous, right?
They're it's 10-1 to the under. Yeah, 11-1 to the under. Whatever the record is, they've only gone over one time all year. Yeah, it's crazy.
It was that one game that there was like 60 real life points.
Yeah, the Raiders won. Yeah. Yep, that was it. Every other game's like 28, 30 points total.
Yeah, because their defense is very good and their offense is very bad.
I'm surprised the defense is still playing for them. They deserve a round of applause. I'm not even kidding.
Good for them.
I know they're professionals, but they should be pissed off.
All
right, so fully committed here.
Even more so.
Fully committed. I don't mind the 3 running backs this week.
Okay.
Not something I would typically do, but I don't mind it. I will go with Joe Mixon.
Okay. And then you have a pivot off if he does not clear concussion protocol. There's many pivots off.
Yeah. And it gives me what, 2,700, right?
You have 2,700 for a tight end.
All right. Wait till I get there. You'll enjoy this one. All right.
Give me a tight end now since I've got, what do I have left? I have a defense and a quarterback, so I can't stop you. So go ahead and give me your who's your bargain basement 2,700 or down tight end in this spot?
Chigo Konkwu, baby.
There you go. For Tennessee, saw 5 targets last week, 5 targets the week before.
Look at his long reception in each of the last 5 games. Yeah. 41, 17, 31, 41, 48. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying he's going to supplant Austin Hooper, but they have no quality pass catching weapons. They just fired their GM after the team got torched by AJ Brown. Like, this guy's a legitimate playmaker. Obviously it's more of a tournament play. I understand that. I told you that's where I'm going. I think there's some legitimate upside with someone like Okonkwo this week against Jacksonville.
Anytime that you get big splash ability from a tight end, it adds a wrinkle to that. Because usually if you're playing a tight end in this spot, you're like, all I need is like 4 catches for 40 yards and I'm fine, right? Like I spend 2,700 if I get 8 points, like I'm cool. Same thing that you're looking for with somebody like Harrison Bryant last week, the same price point, 2,700. But when you have a guy that can break off a 40-yard catch, if that happens to end in the area where they have all the paint on the ground, you get an extra 6 points for that.
Damn right. Yeah.
You know? So and all of a sudden right there, you win that transaction. So Loffy's lineup is Jared Goff, Ezekiel Elliott, Foreman, Jefferson, Brown. This thing scares me right here. This duo.
That little grouping, that little pairing right there.
Chark, Okonkwo, Mixon, or somebody else. And the Panthers defense coming back to me. I have a defense that I'm going to pick here. We just talked about how good they have been, and they're playing Kansas City, and most people are going to avoid playing Kansas City or a defense against Kansas City, but I want a defense that can put pressure on opposing quarterback, that can shut down things that they have on the outside, and as you've mentioned, has not given up a whole lot of points. Even if they give up 24 points, they can score enough because dropbacks are what matters. You want passing opportunities for an offense when you're playing a defense against them, plus a defense that can get pressure on an opposing quarterback. I'll take the Broncos defense here because we have to punt, leaving me 6,200 for a quarterback. The aforementioned Geno Smith has been very good, averaging 20.6 DraftKings points per game, 20 or more in 4 of his last 4, with 28 roughly last week going up against Carolina. If Ken Walker is in, they're still going to throw the ball, specifically to two guys, Lockett and Metcalf. If he is out, I think that he is going to throw the ball a little bit more to the running backs behind him because they are not established on the ground guys, giving me a lineup of, if it'll get there, Geno Smith, DeAndre Swift, Dalvin Cook, Garrett Wilson, Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, Hawkinson, Knight, and the Broncos defense. Dave, thank you for being here, man. I appreciate you coming on the show.
A lot of fun, man. Appreciate you having me.
Not a problem. Guys, go check him out at Lofty_D on Twitter, and go check out all the great videos that I have over at the Stochastic YouTube channels, just like all of the channels that we have here over in the Al Smizzle Fantasy Football Network. Thank you guys for being here. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.